We see these two tanks. Found them. Two tanks. Back to back. 2 different days in a row. Hello fish keepers and welcome to Royal Fish Aquatic. So more than likely you read the title and you're wondering how can you get yourself some free tanks or even get you some tanks and equipment at a very low cost. So I'm going to show you these two tanks I just finished finding, and then we're going to break down the whole process of what I do to be able to get tanks for free or get them at a very low cost. We see these two tanks. Found them. Two tanks. Back to back. 2 different days in a row. It was great. So this one right here, you can probably tell it's a 10-gallon tank, and they had some of that great expensive colorful stones in here, gravel. But I think the cool thing is this right here. Little cool little decoration. Might clean it up, use it. Might put it up for sale. Never know. This one is gonna be great. I like this tank. I never had one of these cube tanks, and now I finally got one. It has gravel. It has a HOB, but these HOBs can be an SOB, so I'm really not gonna use that. The whole fish room is set up for sponge filter, so I will end up putting a sponge filter in here. Thoughts already are running in my mind of what I want to do with this, but I'm not gonna say. I just know my first step is to actually test them out and make sure they can hold water. Before I get all my hopes up, I want to make sure they do hold water. So you see, two tanks. I could keep them, use them in the fish room, or I could hold on to them and actually trade for a bigger tank or a few smaller tank. All depends what type of trade you want to do with somebody. But you see, two great tanks for free. That was pretty cool, right? Two tanks, pretty cheap. That cube one is more than $10. I know the regular 10-gallon you can buy it for $10 brand new, stuff like that. But this is the thing. The first thing is being patient. Every time I'm driving around and I notice I'm in a neighborhood, this trash day, I start looking. I keep my eyes open for tanks while I'm driving. If I see something, I stop and I'll grab it. Bring it home, clean it, check it, make sure it's pressurized. Boom, you got your free tank. But you're probably wondering, what do you do if that's not a tank that you need? You're into monster fish and you just finished finding two 10-gallon tanks. Well, there's several things you could do. First, you can actually put on social media, hey, I got two 10 gallons looking for a bigger tank, anybody interested? Somebody might have a 20 or a 30 and trade up, and then you keep trading up until you get the tank that you want. Another thing you could do is just trade them into your fish store. Go to your local fish store and say, hey, I'm interested in, let's say, a 55. You trade them two 20s and a couple dollars, and you can get that 55 you want. So it's gonna bring down the cost because you just sold them two tanks and you gave him some money and he bought that one from you. So those are different things you could do. Another thing you can do to get free tanks is, if you're breeding fish, actually trade people fish. Trade them some fish for some tanks. Or the opposite. You found those two 10 gallons and you have monster fish, but there's a certain fish you want. You could trade those two 10 gallons, for fish. So there's a lot of bartering you can do. But the key thing is being patient, guys. Be patient. Now with those two new tanks, I'm gonna have 50 different tanks in my fish room. And there's probably 3 tanks I ever spend $1 on. The 220, which I spend like $10, and there's a 10-gallon I bought one time, and a 20 long that for a couple bucks. Everything else I have found or have traded before. I have some pretty big tanks back here, but I had some that were bigger, and I ended up trading those to a buddy of mine for some 20 longs and some 20 talls. You can always trade, always barter to make it more inexpensive for you to be in this hobby. It makes it fun, it makes it easier and more enjoyable. So guys, thank you for watching this video. I know it's a short, quick video. A lot of you guys know these little tricks, but there's certain people that don't know these tricks on how to get free tanks or really lower down your costs in your fish room. Because this is a fun hobby, but it could get pricey. So a great thing is always barter. Remember, if you're growing plants, you're growing fish, if you're breeding them or you got some extra of whatever, you can always trade for what you want. Just be patient. Be very, very patient. You will find the person that's willing to trade with you, or even looking around. For a while, they didn't find none on the side of the road, and all of a sudden this week, 2 days in a row, I find 2 tanks. So me just being patient and not rushing it, I will keep finding all the tanks I need to keep making my fish room a lot bigger. Okay. So everybody, they've been sitting here for hours now. There's no water dripping. There's a little bit of watermarks, but that was me when I was filling them up. What I mainly look is for water coming down, because this is my driveway and it's slanted down. And I'll let them sit here overnight still, but after a few hours, I am pretty comfortable knowing that these tanks, the seals are good. So it's very simple. Find a tank, fill it up with water before you do any major cleaning to it. Just fill it up with water just to see what it does. And after that, after a few hours, if they good, hey, you got a perfectly good working tank. So again, thank you for joining us out here at Royal Fish Aquatic. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like always, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And y'all have a blessed day.